Macy's is opening their second smaller format Market by Macy's location now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And supposedly the store is going to have full service and self-checkouts as well as same-day DoorDash deliveries. And they're going to have a BOPIS service where a Macy's associate will walk your stuff out to your car for you for curbside pickup. So before I pass this off, I would just why, I don't understand this at all. And then also, I couldn't find any kind of numbers on the first Market by Macy's location. No. So of course, resourcefully, I looked at all the Google reviews of the store. And so the general consensus is that the store is beautiful, the coffee shop is great, but the merchandise sucks. And like, what are you doing if the whole point of these stores was to like amp up merchandising and try the off-mall location, but if you can't even get the merchandising, right, what are you doing?
And how's the merchandising different from Macy's, which is probably just, in a suburban mall right down the road, right? Yeah. So you're not buying this. You're not on this one too. I got to go first on this one too, Ann, because this story reminded me of something you said. Like, there's a tell in this story that this idea sucks. I think, and to use it to quote millennial Gen Z speak, that it sucks. Like, and here's what I think the tell is. It's this: they're touting self-checkout. Right. So here's my question, because Ann, I know you remember this. Do you remember when Jeff Gannett was up on stage at Shop Talk touting self-checkout, and then you went in and tried it? Tell everybody the experience, because then I want to talk about like why I think that's germane to this. But like, what was your experience with what he was saying was self-checkout?
Well, the worst part was about Macy's is that, number one, you can't find somebody to check you out to begin with. And the way that they're solving this was another checkout, another set of lines for you to wait in. And I forget what it was, but it was just like, I think we wrote something.
It was like another
the way to save Macy's from waiting in line at Macy's is adding more lines to wait in at Macy's. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like a self-checkout station that you had to go to, where you were kind of like, what are you really doing here? And so that's my question, because and if somebody's down there in Texas, please let us know how the hell this works, because like self-checkout in apparel, what are you doing with the security tags there? Like, how are you not waiting in a line? So if you're touting this as cool and transformational, it's probably not, because otherwise that would be making headlines in terms of like, whoa, Macy's has done a self-checkout process that gets rid of the hang tags, and you can really just walk out of the store, similar to Amazon Go and everything else we just talked about. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Like, that's not what's happening here. And Emma, I think your other point, what is the math on this, right? Like, you're building these 20,000 square foot stores, you're adding all this overhead, and yet you have other stores nearby. So for this to work, they have to either be incredibly productive, which, given what you just said, Emma, to me is a huge challenge, because why is the product going to make them that much more productive than traditionally? Or they have to attract massive new swaths of customers in these markets. And given where the Macy's brand is and what it means to people, like, is that going to happen? Like, is the coffee shop going to do that when I have all kinds of other coffee shop and places to eat options? Again, then you're in the restaurant business, and we've talked about this. That's the hardest freaking business in the world. Harvard Business School professors won't even listen to business school cases on restaurants. That's how ridiculously hard they are to do. They won't even listen to them. So I don't know. What do you think here?
My God, this is the most rants ever happening in all OmniTalk time, I think. But
I'm like A+ rant today, dude. This is
I know
great.
you are.
Everyone listening is probably like, dude, just shut up. But I'm like on it. I'm feeling it today.
Well, the key thing to point out, though, is they are closing 2 of the anchor mall stores that are right around these areas. So this will be, for some people, the only Macy's that they'll be able to shop at, this new format. And I thought that there's 2 things, it makes sense to cut back on your real estate, to reduce your footprint. Like, that all makes sense. But the real problem here is for Macy's and the concepts itself. Like, they're not doing like you said, anything notable. They're adding things that are old. They're just adding self-checkout. They're adding curbside pickup. Like, everybody's doing that. That's table stakes now. And you even had Rachel Steckman. I don't know if you guys heard this. She spoke at NRF last week.
Oh, I did.
Even Rachel said, who created the first Southlake concept, was like, yeah, this is not what I wanted it to be anymore. So she's completely just like, without saying it specifically, she's just like, yeah, this is not what I created. And this is now just this thing that Macy's kind of taken on to its own. So it makes sense what Emma's saying.
She's
And
like,
then
wait, hold on. She's like Michael Douglas in Traffic, where he's like the new drug czar and he's disavowing everything that happened before. Like it's not his fault. That's so amazing that's what she's
there's
doing
definitely now. Some passing of the baton clearly happening there. And Rachel wanting to free her name and her previous story concept.
God, we called that one. Jeez, we were on the front end of that.
But the other thing too is like what they're doing, this whole initiative that they're doing with this concept is just taking the Macy's, moving it to smaller footprint and moving it off mall. And Daphne Howland at Retail Dive, I think she said it best in her article. She's like, you are basically just following Kohl's strategy. And how is that working out for Kohl's? Like the off mall thing is not going to save you. You've got to get smarter, Macy's. You got to come up with some better ideas here to stay afloat.
Yeah, you have to answer the why, and the why is not going to be a coffee shop or restaurant and like this, like focus on the local brands. The reason local brands are local brands for a reason. Like you got to get, they don't have the draw and the scalability that you expect to find other things. You need cool brands. You need things that people want and that want to bring people in.